he'll make adjustments.
Yeah, he'll make adjustments. It'll be a completely different fight. Like the first one and the second was different. The third one's going to be different as well.
And now, for those in attendance and UFC fans watching around the world, this is the moment you all truly have been waiting for. It's time!
UFC 264, July 10th. Save the date for the epic trilogy between the biggest superstar in MMA, Conor McGregor, and the #1 contender in the lightweight division, Dustin Poirier. Whether you're a hardcore fan excited by the matchup or a casual that's tuning in to watch McGregor fight, we here at Athlete Central are ready to tell you everything you need to know about the fight. Now let's get into the ultimate fight breakdown. Conor has only fought 3 times since his record-breaking bout against Floyd Mayweather in 2017. He lost to the lightweight GOAT Khabib Nurmagomedov in 2018, where the Russian managed to humble McGregor for all the trash talk leading up to their fight, earning a submission victory in the 4th round via neck crank.
Nope, it's on the chin.
There's the tap! Still undisputed! Khabib Nurmagomedov has finished Conor McGregor tonight!
Conor actually did stop trash talking after that. Following 14 months of inactivity, he returned with a victory against the veteran Donald "Cowboy" Cerrone in 2020, where the build-up was a lot more cordial. The Irishman got a first-round KO in impressive fashion with a head kick and ground and pound.
Donald's covering up.
Oh, this is gonna be it!
Team's gonna stop it. That's it.
His last fight was a defeat to his foe for UFC 264, Dustin Poirier, earlier this year, which we will get to later on in the video, so make sure you stick around. As you can see, McGregor has been quite inconsistent as of late, but his popularity with the fan base will ensure he always remains in the spotlight and gets high-profile fights. Everyone wants that fight, because it really is red panty night with that paycheck. He may always be a draw, but this next fight is crucial in proving he still belongs among the elite of the division. Dustin has been way more active recently. If we look at the same time frame, Dustin has fought 7 times in comparison to Conor's 3, having a record of 6 victories and 1 defeat. 3 high-profile knockouts for Poirier against top contenders Anthony Pettis, Justin Gaethje, and Eddie Alvarez earned him an interim lightweight title shot against the then featherweight champion Max Blessed Holloway. The 5-round clash between the fan favorites was one of the fights of the year for 2019. Dustin outstruck Max in a 5-round war to get a decision victory and his first ever UFC belt. Unfortunately for Poirier, when he attempted to unify his belt to become the undisputed champ at UFC 242, he fell short against Khabib Nurmagomedov, who submitted him in even less time than it took to finish McGregor, earning a rear naked choke victory in the 3rd round.
I have no excuses, man. Khabib's the world champ. I prepared very well for 10 weeks. That's it. I lost.
Dustin bounced back in 2020 with another Fight of the Year candidate against Dan Hooker, showing his experience to win the later rounds despite facing adversity early on. The Conor rematch was his next fight, so let's dive into the analysis. The first fight took place in 2014 at UFC 178 and ended with Conor knocking Dustin out cold within 2 minutes, climbing the ranks and increasing his popularity immensely. There isn't much to analyze from that fight, given it was so short 7 years ago and at a lower weight class, but their rematch at UFC 257 is something worth looking at. The first round was very back and forth, but Conor was the more active fighter on the feet, tagging Dustin with several hard combos, landing 38 of 60 strikes, compared to Poirier's 22 of 44. The Irishman was trying to keep the pace high and apply pressure, but Poirier countered that with several clinches up against the fence and, more importantly, used calf kicks to stifle Conor's forward movement. 18 of Dustin's 48 strikes were leg kicks. All 3 judges gave the first round to Conor based on the amount of significant strikes he landed, but the tactics Dustin used helped him in round 2. At the start of the round, it was already obvious that Conor felt discomfort putting weight on that lead leg due to the amount of damage accumulated. This opened him up to strikes up top because he was more concentrated on not getting kicked again. Poirier hit him with a vicious combination and finished him off with strikes on the ground, the ref having no choice but to stop the fight. The fighters are very similar when it comes to their anthropometry. Both are 5'9", cut a similar amount of weight to make 155, and McGregor only has a slight 2-inch edge in reach. The megastars are both 32 years old, approaching the peak of their powers, but Conor's probably had 3 lifetimes of retirement by now. Both lightweights are strikers. They probably have some of the best boxing in UFC. Conor actually lasted 10 rounds with the best boxer of all time, Floyd Mayweather. They are very close in terms of striking numbers, but statistically Poirier is the more polished striker. Throughout his UFC career, Dustin has landed 5.59 strikes per minute, compared to McGregor's 5.32. He also has better defense, only absorbing 4.17 strikes per minute to Conor's 4.54. Their accuracy is pretty much even, Dustin having 50% accuracy when it comes to offense, Conor at 49. They defend at the same success rate of 54%. When it comes to power though, the edge has to go to the notorious Conor McGregor. 19 of his 22 career wins have come via TKO or KO, while Dustin has only 13 KO or TKO wins across 27 victories. Dustin Poirier quite clearly has a big advantage when it comes to the grappling aspect. The Louisiana native averages 1.75 takedowns per 15 minutes. Comparatively, Conor only averages 0.7 per 15 minutes. Dustin often uses the grappling he has developed when the fight is even on the feet, the Dan Hooker fight being a prime example of this. He also uses the clinch to slow the fight down if necessary. The last time McGregor used a grappling-based game plan was the Max Holloway fight at the start of his career. He hasn't really used it since, because his opponents often have a grappling advantage, so he prefers to keep the fight standing. Taking that into account, it's no surprise McGregor has no submission attempts in the UFC, despite having a brown belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Meanwhile, Dustin has an average of 1.32 submissions attempted per 15 minutes, finishing 7 of his opponents by submission, the armbar and Bravo choke being his go-tos. Those were early on in his career though, and a good portion of his UFC sub attempts have been guillotine chokes when other fighters have attempted takedowns on him, so he's unlikely to need it against Conor. He likes the technique, and though it has never worked out for him, he had former champ Khabib Nurmagomedov in some trouble when he attempted it in their fight for the title at UFC 242. That technique explains why the UFC statistics have submissions as Poirier's most used offensive weapon, making up 42% of his attacks, with striking at 38% and takedowns at 20%. Conor's breakdown is 78% striking and takedowns at 22%, with no submission attempts as mentioned earlier. He also lands 78% of his strikes on his feet, 10% in the clinch, and 12% on the ground. Dustin lands a lot more in the clinch, with 18%, 72% on the feet, and 10% on the ground. Their takedown defense is almost identical, 69% for Dustin and 68% for Conor, which is an aspect both fighters have learned to improve as they progressed. It's highly unlikely that the 6-month interval between the fights is going to produce any revolutionary changes to their style, but there are some changes to be expected. After feeling the damage Poirier was able to inflict with his calf kicks, Conor has posted videos where he's practicing his defense. Checking the kicks will be crucial in this rematch, so that he can apply the pressure he needs to with his striking comfortably. After significant damage to the calf, you can't really put weight on the front leg, decreasing the punching power. Alternatively, Conor might decide to let Poirier be the aggressor and look to adopt a counter-striking style to avoid those kicks. His boxing is good enough to adopt either style, and considering the success he had in the first round of their last fight, he doesn't go into this fight lacking in confidence.
I feel very confident. You know, a couple of things went. I beat him in the original bout. I lost in the rematch, and now we've got the trilogy. I've got a few little adjustments to make. I feel very, very confident. I'm very, very focused and driven, and I'll go in there and put on a hell of a performance and get it back for July 10th.
As for Poirier, many would say just repeat the same game plan. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. But we might see a slight change of plan from him this time round. It would make more sense to take up a more grappling-heavy approach this time round to avoid the potential power shots Conor is able to land.
We're a little over a month out. Just tell me how you think Dustin's looking.
He's looking phenomenal. Yesterday was his first day of sparring. He took care of business. He's looking incredibly sharp for day one of sparring, and we're very excited, man. We're looking forward to closing this trilogy out in style.
Poirier's tendency to put on barn burner fights might prevent this though. He always wants to put on a show for the fans, so he'll be willing to stand and bang with McGregor. Something that wasn't a factor last time out was the trash talk. But it's different this time around. The mutual respect the fighters had for each other has taken a back seat because of the controversy surrounding McGregor's broken promise. He vowed to make a big donation to Dustin's charity, the Good Fight Foundation, but never made the payment. The tension between the two fighters rose, and there were even rumors of the fight potentially being cancelled. But things got back on track. It's worth noting that Conor then made a donation to a different charity organization in Louisiana. The build-up to this fight is bound to be more heated, with the good guy Conor gone. He's been stirring things up on Twitter, calling out different fighters, and resuming his previous trash-talking shenanigans. This is important because Dustin admitted that Conor got in his head in their first fight. A return to the trash talk may have a bad impact on Poirier, but if he's able to keep cool, he has all the tools available to beat Conor again. The winner of this fight will most likely be next for UFC lightweight champion Charles Do Bronx Oliveira, so the pressure is on. Thank you guys so much for watching today's video. Who do you think will win this epic trilogy? Drop your fight predictions in the comments below, and make sure to like and subscribe to never miss an Athlete Central video. Until next time.